Stepsister planned my birthday party with only her friends and all the things she loves that I don't. When my mom told me, I laughed in her face and broke up with her for good. For some background, my parents split up when I was 6 years old and went their different ways. They shared care of me, but they both got married and had kids. Let's call him Robert. He was married to a woman when I was 9 years old, and they already had a daughter together. Kara was 2 years older than me. A beautiful woman asked my dad to marry her when I was 8 years old. He married Layla when I was 12 years old. Layla is a wonderful person, and she has become like a mother to me. She mostly helped my dad raise me. She cares about my life. She comforts me. She gives me advice, we share hobbies, and we do a lot of things together. I recently talked with her about the idea of having her formally adopt me as soon as I turn 18. Doing so now would be a bit messy legally because my parents share custody, but I want it to be clear that she is my mother. On the other hand, I don't really talk to my biological mother very often. We never became close because she spent all her time caring for and loving Kira, who already had her own mother. I had to spend certain days with her. She always included Kira in her plans, even when she tried to get me to join in. We could only do what Kira wanted. I stopped accepting her offers after a while and often asked if I could skip going to see her on the set days because I felt overlooked or left out so much and would rather stay home with my dad and Layla. But he had to follow the judge's rules, too. My dad always tried to understand me. As I grew up, he told me that he was afraid my mother would do something bad in court if he agreed not to let me go see her on the set days. Yes, this is what my mom would do. Now that I knew this, I understood why my dad did what he did. I didn't want to get him in trouble, so I stopped asking for things like this and stuck to my plan. Let's get to the point. I will finally be 18 in 2 weeks. I'm lucky that my birthday is on a day when I have to stay with my dad. He, Layla, and I began making plans for my birthday a month ago. It will be a simple party at my favorite pizza place with family and friends. That night, I just want to hang out with friends and family and do what I please. Plus, there's karaoke, and I love singing, of course once. We had booked and planned everything. We sent out the cards. This included my mom. Since I wasn't really interested in having her there, I thought that this would be the last time I had to be with her because I won't have to follow the judge's rules anymore when I turn 18. We sent out the invites 2 days ago, and almost all of them had replied by now, so we knew exactly how many to send to the pizza place. My mother saw the text but didn't answer, so that was the only thing that was missing. I told my dad I wouldn't push her, and if she didn't answer, that meant she didn't want to come, which was fine with me. I think the thought made my dad feel a little better too. He didn't say it out loud, but I could tell by the look on his face. Mom called me and was very mad. She said I was acting like a kid, and that I shouldn't have planned anything without telling her first. I wasn't sure what to make of this, so I told her that I always planned my birthdays with my dad and Layla, and most of the time she didn't even remember, so she shouldn't be whining now. As a result, she became even more angry and began to attack me. Kira had been crying since I sent the request to my mom because she had already planned a whole birthday party for me. Also, I couldn't say anything because I have no connection with Kira. She is the typical selfish brat who always wants to be the center of attention. My mother has always put up with her bad behavior, which has made things worse between us. If Kira wanted to plan my birthday party, I had no idea why the hell she would want to do that. Why did she do it? I asked her. Why did she do it without telling me? She didn't really think I wouldn't have any plans for my 18th birthday, did she? It wasn't funny. It was a surprise for my mom, and I didn't tell her about my plans, so she thought I didn't want to do anything for my birthday. Also, she might have asked? No, not at all. At this point comes the worst part, the one that really made me lose it. My mom started telling me about all the fun things Kira had planned for my party, maybe to make me realize what I would have missed. They were all Kira's favorite things to do. Things I didn't like. I don't eat fish, but she had made reservations at a fish restaurant for lunch. Not because I feel like it, but because it makes me sick. It makes me sick just to smell fish. I'm not allergic. That much I know, my body just doesn't like it. You can ride horses and do other fun things at a camp near the city where my mom lives in the afternoon. I don't like it though. As much as I don't dislike horses, the thought of riding one or getting that close to a big animal scares me. Then she thought about saying, I don't want to go back to my mom's house for dinner because I don't want to spend more time with my mom than I have to my mom, also said that invites had already been sent to everyone. I was stunned, but I had to ask her who they were sent to because my friends, my dad, and his family still hadn't gotten anything. The party turned out to be mostly for Robert's family, my mom's family, and Kira's friends. It was really just Kira throwing a party for herself, even though she said it was for my birthday. I didn't hold back any longer. After calling my mom, I laughed in her face and hung up. Come on. It was all too silly to be true. A short time ago, my dad told me that his mom called him mad because I laughed in her face when she told me about the party they were planning for me. He was very mad about it. He began to say that, even though I cared about my mom, they were trying to be nice for once, but I stopped him right away and went into great detail about how the party was planned, something my mom had apparently left out. He quickly changed his face. He just said, "I'm going to call, but I've been hearing him yell at my mom for at least 20 minutes. When Layla found out what was going on, she told me that I was being rude to my mom by laughing in her face and hanging up without saying anything. For her, I should have stood up for her like an adult, no matter how I felt, and worked things out in a polite and grown-up way. She wasn't mad at me, but she was a little let down by how I behaved. I thought about what I did after she left. Maybe I was a little hasty, but I honestly don't think telling my mom about it would have helped. But maybe I could have done a better job? It's beginning to dawn on me that I was a jerk back then." Changed on November 29th, 2024. Okay, Velp, I didn't think this post would get so much attention. But thank you all for your well wishes and comforting words. I read all of your notes and chose to do what you said. Before anything else, I told Layla how I felt about my mom. Layla taught me how important it is to talk to people and always pushed me to do so I could solve my problems. Now I understand where her comment about my behavior came from. But I also told her what I thought. The only thing that came to mind was telling her that what my mom was telling her was too ridiculous, and laughing. As my mom talked, I thought to myself, is this a joke or some kind of bad prank? Is she making this up? Because her nonsense was completely silly. Layla told me she got it. As a lot of you have told me, she just wanted me to know that there are times when I can't just laugh it off and hang up the phone. She only cared about how I would react. In any case, we were able to work things out, and I'm glad. I also told my dad about the call he had with my mom. It looked like my mom had a reason for everything. She said Kira only wanted to be a good sister on my big day and share her hobby with me, which is riding horses. She also said Kira never thought my fish problem was a real problem, and that the place they had booked it made the best fish around. That last one is a lie, because I threw up in front of my mom a few times when I was little. Because we went somewhere that smelled strongly of fish, so she knows it's a real problem for me. They had not planned anything for me, my dad said, and Kira had clearly planned the party for herself. He also asked what kind of party it was for me if none of my important people were there. My mom didn't answer, she just went on and on about how selfish and spoiled I was, so my dad told her to go to hell and hung up the phone. Thanks for the advice. After hearing this, I chose to follow it and wrote a message to my mom. This time I chose to be grown up, so I wrote the message in the nicest way possible. I said I was sorry for laughing, but what she was saying was so silly that it was the only thing I could do. She didn't try to build a connection with me, she doesn't know me. And she has never cared about getting to know me. I told her that the birthday party Kira planned only had things that Kira liked, so they could enjoy it with their family and friends. During our last phone call, she made it clear what her goals were, so I told her she was no longer invited to my pizza party, and that she shouldn't bother showing up. I was going to do the same thing. And she was not at all high on my list of priorities. Layla is already my mother, and I love her so much. I told her I hoped everything went well with her new family and asked her not to get in touch with me again. I don't mind that she read the message but didn't answer. I'm sure if she replied, she would just say more mean things about how selfish and spoilt I am. I don't want to talk to her, because I know she won't understand or will act like she doesn't understand. But now, that I've made things clear. Our problem is over. That's what it meant to me, at least, and I thank you all for that. I probably wouldn't have said anything and would have given up on her after my 18th birthday. But what you said helped me see that a hard end was needed. To those who asked my mom how she could throw me a surprise party when I wasn't with her, my dad asked her the same thing. He also asked her how she thought he wouldn't throw me a party for my 18th birthday. My dad took it pretty personally, LOL, and she told me that Robert was supposed to come get me on my birthday morning, tell Dad and Layla what's going on, and then make up a reason to take me to Mom's house. I really have no idea how it would have worked. No matter what reason they came up with, I would not have gone to my mom's if it wasn't our set days. Most importantly, I would not have left Layla and my dad to go to Mom's on my 18th birthday. If my mother and I got along well, that would have been one thing, but that was not the case. In this whole mess, Robert is the only person I don't want to blame. But when we lived together, he was always nice to me, even though we were never close. In fact, he cleaned out his study so I could have a room in his house when I went to see my mom. There was never any step tie between us. But he was always nice to me, so I don't blame him for anything. Though we don't know each other very well, he probably thinks the party is for me. My mother probably wouldn't have told him what I like if she did. I was also lucky that I didn't leave anything at my mom's house. All of my things will always be at my dad's house. When I went to my mom's house, I would put the things I needed for that day in my bag. When I went back to my dad's house, I would bring them back. Because Robert's family and Kira's friends came over so often, I never felt safe leaving anything with her. I didn't want to leave my stuff out for people to see. That's all for now. I hope my mom gives me the space I need to be alone and doesn't bother me again after that. Besides that, I'd like to talk to Layla about adoption again after the holidays. When we first talked about it, she looked really happy. Again, thanks to everyone for their nice comments and help. Your ideas have given me a better way to handle things. Though I know I'm still a little young, I think this has helped me become a better person and see things from a different angle. Best of luck to you guys. The places where OP has answered. Respondent 1 OP, I would send Robert a nice message to thank him for being kind and thoughtful over the years. Then tell him good luck, which means you'll never see him again. I guess I could have. But I don't have his phone number. We never felt the need to stay in touch because most of the time we talked, it was just small talk and good morning or evening goodbye. I also don't have Kira's phone number, so I think Robert and I said goodbye for good the last time I left my mom's house. As for commenter 2, do you know your birth mother's family? If so, what do they think about how your birth mother treated you? I believe you handled this problem much more maturely than your egg source did. So, I don't really talk to my mom's family that much. They are only 3 people: my aunt, grandma, and my uncle. My uncle lives with his family a few hours away. I only saw him a few times over the holidays while I was with my mom, and our conversations were short and far apart. My aunt and grandma are the only people I get along with well. We send each other holiday wishes by text. They have sent me gifts a few times for my birthday, always money on my dad's card, but that's it. If I did happen to see them, we would just talk about how our lives were going and nothing else. I haven't even asked any of them to my 18th birthday party, and they haven't texted me anything since the fight with my mom. I believe they don't care that much. Commenter 3. You talked about this issue clearly and maturely, and you set clear limits. Layla looks like a great help in your life. I wish you the best as you move forward. Next, my dad said he wouldn't come to my wedding unless I invited his 20-year-old mean wife. I told him that was fine, and my wedding was perfect without him. For some background, I'm F24. I don't get along with my dad's M43 wife, Ellie F41. They met in 2006, got married in 2011, and have had 2 kids since then. Ellie has never liked me. When I met her when I was 7, things went badly right away. She was rude and mean, and she wasn't interested in me at all. Now that I'm an adult, I can put up with her behavior, which got a lot worse when I started talking back as a child. My dad has always let it happen, which is the problem. As an adult, I can handle things on my own, as I have for years. But when I was a kid, he didn't say anything about her almost violent behavior, and whenever it comes up, he will find a way to change the subject or make an excuse for it. Our relationship has been badly hurt by this, and we're not talking to each other much right now. I'm getting married to James, M25, in November of this year. We've been together for 11 years. Ellie says over and over that she will be there. She's not going to. This has been clear since November 2023, when we got engaged. My dad is allowed, but I made it very clear to her last year that she wasn't welcome because of how she behaved, spoke, and treated both of us. It's also important to note that James doesn't want E to be there because she is prejudiced against him, because he is trans and FTM and Ellie will call him names, make comments about it all, and be generally mean. He also feels protective of me because he has been with me for most of Ellie's care. My dad told me last week that he wouldn't be at my wedding if Ellie wasn't there. Since I knew something like this was going to happen, I told him it was okay. It was hard for him to understand, so I told him that he didn't have to go. But it meant I would never talk to him again. I had to deal with him picking Ellie over me for almost 20 years, and the fact that my wedding to his first and only daughter was being talked about was the last straw. After that, he didn't say anything for a moment, then got up and left. I've been getting a lot of inappropriate texts from Ellie, but my dad hasn't talked to me since we last talked. As I already said, I took care of Ellie's treatment. For that matter, my dad's quiet for almost 20 years. It feels like a good time to start over at my wedding. As long as he's with Ellie, I don't see how we can fix this or our relationship. AITA for telling my dad I don't care if he comes to my wedding. Just a quick note to say thanks for the replies. I had no idea this would happen. All of the help, wisdom, and nice words are wonderful. I'm having a hard time responding to everyone, but please know that I read all of your comments. Also, thanks for all the happy thoughts. Thank you. Truly comments where OP has replied. Commenter, NTA, there's been no effort of apology or reconciliation. It's strange that Ellie would even want to be at the wedding anyway. Oop. She can't handle that my dad will be somewhere she isn't. It's a habit of hers to take him away from my special events. To another commenter, she doesn't truly want to be there. She just doesn't like that I told her no. And that my dad had an invitation so he would be where she wasn't. She has a habit of breaking boundaries and finding ways to get under my skin. So her being at my wedding after I objected would have been another I had my way and you had to suck it up moment for her. That's why I'm finally putting my foot down no matter what it takes, amidst other reasons. Commenter. What do both Ellie and your dad have to say in regards to the reasons for you choosing not to invite Ellie because of her abusive treatment towards you? Oop, Ellie is making a song and a dance of it. She knows she's vile towards me but will deny it to people we don't know and claim we have a strained relationship. She's told me I'm attempting to divide her and my dad by saying one can attend, but the other can't, and giving my dad ultimatums to hurt him. My dad has never been able to acknowledge her treatment and will find ways to change the subject/excuse it, so he's claiming that by denying Ellie a place at my wedding, I'm starting unnecessary drama and causing a scene. I've reiterated that I don't want her there because of see above, but he's saying that I'm only doing this to get back at him. Commenter. So has your dad ever directly acknowledged anything you've pointed out about her behavior towards you? When you confront Ellie directly, does she acknowledge what you have to say about her behavior? If they try to smear you online, I say put them on blast and publicly list what she's done. Maybe threaten them with that if they continue. Oop, to a degree. I have said the word she treats me like shit to him and he has said you're blowing it out of proportion. My take is that he knows exactly what she says and does. He's been present for most of her behavior, but he dumbs it down out loud for her sake, to defend her, if that makes sense. He's a coward. I established that long ago. Update November 12th, 2024. Firstly, thank you all so very much. The overwhelming amount of advice, support, feedback, and kind words meant more than you could ever know. So my wedding was just over a week ago and it was absolutely perfect. It was me and James surrounded by the people we love and the ones who love us most. Neither my dad or Ellie were there. Following our last talk where I told him I didn't care if he was present, it was complete silence from him for just over a month. I took my dad's silence as his mind made up, and I actually felt at ease with it, which was another huge wake-up call. He finally messaged me in October and asked to talk over the phone. I told James and he said to do it and use the opportunity to make my final choice on the matter and set it in stone. So we spoke. He asked that I allow Ellie at the wedding. I said no. He said that he wouldn't come if she wasn't there. I said I didn't care. We went back and forth for a little bit, mostly just repeating ourselves, until he basically said, "Is this really the hill you want to die on?" I said yes, told him that he had a week to give me a simple yes or no as to whether he would be there, and hung up. He messaged me a couple of days later with a long paragraph about how I was giving him ultimatums, making him choose, holding on to the past, petty and disrespectful, etc. Something snapped. I said that he had more than enough chances to attempt to make things right, but that I was done, and blocked him. On the day of my wedding, I tried not to think about it, and it was honestly easier than I to the point I didn't realize he wasn't there until midway through the ceremony. I was hearing from mutual friends and family that my dad has been pretty silent on the whole thing. Other members of my family/close friends were present at the wedding and asked why my dad wasn't there, and I just told them it was a story for another day. Not something I wanted to get into on my wedding. Honestly, this entire situation is just draining. I've known for a long time that it would end in flames at some point or another, and I'm not entirely sure why I held out that little bit of hope for so long. I genuinely feel at peace for the first time in years and relieved that I no longer have to deal with him or Ellie. I'm in bed with my now husband writing this post, and feeling better than ever. I've realized I gave him too much of my time and patience when he didn't deserve it. This toxic chapter of my life is done. I'm more in love with my childhood sweetheart than I thought was possible, and can't stop grinning at the fact I get to call him my husband. Again, thank you so very much for other responses. You're all a lot wiser than I am. Have a great day. Everyone. Additional info, Oop clarifies her half-siblings, they're both young, under 10. I was out of the house as much as I could as they were growing up and left as soon as I turned 18, so I can't imagine they have much recollection of me being about.